Kerry Read. I am a craniomandibular physiotherapist, a long word for a physio who works specifically in the mouth, the jaw, the head. And I also am the very proud mother of a beautiful daughter with Down syndrome. I wanted to share with you today some of my thoughts on mouth position, specifically about the tongue. There's a lot talked about the tongue, which comes from a historical perspective of thinking that people with Down syndrome have a tongue which is too large. In fact, true over-enlargement of the tongue in Down syndrome is actually rare. But when you look at the tongue of a person with Down syndrome, yes, it may appear large in relation to the mouth. So often the mouth, the upper jaw particularly, is quite narrow with thickened sides so that the space in there appears smaller and the tongue appears larger, also because there's a tendency towards low muscle tone. So instead of the tongue being ready for action, it tends to be splayed and appears to be large and can protrude sideways and often forward. Once you activate the tongue, it in fact becomes smaller. So you've got a double whammy there of a small space for a tongue which tends to splay outwards if the tone in the tongue is not enhanced and improved. So it fits into the space. Now, why does this matter? If the tongue is allowed to sit down on the bottom jaw, that is the bottom jaw, that will tend to load the jaw joints and can lead to clicking and popping and problems with the jaw joint. The other thing is that as the mouth grows, the tongue pushing it down can make the jaw come forward and misalign the bite in that direction. The tongue has a function to play right from birth in encouraging the width of this palate, the top jaw. And it's actually the pressure of the tongue upward onto the palate which causes it to expand. So form follows function. The function of the tongue pressing up and out here helps that upper jaw to grow, and that in turn helps this front part of the face to grow forward. And that's how your cheekbones tend to then develop. So we don't really want the jaw growing down and forward. We want it to stay in the mouth. We want this part of the mouth to develop, and we want a nice wide arch, as wide as we can get it, from pressure of the tongue. So if we allow our children with Down syndrome to have the mouth open and the tongue forward, automatically the easiest airway, the easiest way to breathe is then through the mouth. If we continue to breathe through the mouth, the nasal passages, because form follows function, go, I don't really need to be that wide, so they don't get any wider, they narrow. Then when we ask our child to breathe through their nose or encourage them to breathe through their nose, the passages are smaller and that oral airway is so much easier. So we're setting them up to mouth breathe. What's wrong with that? 2 ways to breathe, nose, mouth. When we breathe through the mouth, the air goes straight back onto the back of the throat where it meets the tonsils and the adenoids. Now, they are our main defense against airborne disease, viruses, and dust particles. When we breathe through our nose, The air is filtered by the hairs, it's warmed in the nasal passages, and it's humidified. So it's cleaned, it's humidified, and it then travels down the back of the throat, which is then when it hits the tonsils and adenoids. If the tonsils and adenoids are having to do double work and clear air that's not warmed, humidified, and cleaned, then they will enlarge. So they'll say, oh gosh, we've got to do some work. We've got to enlarge to make sure that we protect this body. As they enlarge, so that the space for the airway narrows. So then the person who's mouth breathing then has to adapt by bringing the head forward, making it larger, the airway larger. And also it tends to block off the back of the nose. So any hope that we were going to breathe through that nose easily and widely is reduced. The pressure of that tongue during the swallow also helps to make this area wider. It helps it to grow, which is where two of our sinuses are. So having good access to sinuses there helps us with our secretions. It also helps with the kind of melodic nature of the voice. It helps the voice not to be quite so flat and monotone, and it helps the sound to ring. So creating that perfect chamber, if we can, up the top here that's nice and wide, has all those advantages of correct breathing pattern, also the structure of the face, the structure of the voice, and also our ability to fight off bugs and infections. So keeping our tongue low is not really desirable for perfect development. The other aspect is with Down syndrome, often all the teeth aren't actually there in the gums ready to come down. They might become in the wrong order. All sorts of funky stuff happens with teeth on that chromosome 21. And the wider the arch, the better it can accommodate any teeth that are there in the adult teeth. And it helps to stop dental crowding and give a nice wide arch for teeth. Teeth are important for chewing. Chewing's important for digestion. Digestion's important for health, growth, and development. So there's a whole cycle of things that happen if we allow the tongue to sit down. If we additionally allow the tongue to sit outside the lips, then we have other problems. We get drying and fissuring of the tongue itself. We get drying of the gums and an increased incidence of gum disease that they hold the healthy teeth in. So we can be developing dental problems down the track, but also we're going to develop dental arch problems where the teeth aren't there for articulation for all our D's and T's and L's. And so for good speech, the wider our arch is, the better our teeth, the more clarity in our speech. So hopefully by now I have persuaded you there's a whole stack of reasons there why keeping the tongue inside the mouth and preferably up in the palate is a far better way to go than having it low, especially putting forward and having the mouth closed. I realize it is not an easy thing to achieve, getting that tongue into the mouth, but stimulating the tongue through all sorts of, by direct pressure, but by fun games, mimicking games, clicking, clucking, singing, animal noises, little high squeaky voice that really helps develop through those palate and the sinuses and builds feedback to your child's ears that encourage it to try those different noises which really exploit the head more. The other thing is there is no reason why from a really young age you can't pop that tongue back in and keep those lips together. It will be incessant, but it's worth it. Keep popping it in close those lips together, lips together. The other absolute crucial is to breathe through your nose. You have to have a clear nose. You have to have a clear airway. So clearing your child's nose before they can blow it with a mucus extractor, known as a snot sucker in our house. They come in all different shapes and sizes. They're really soft silicone now, so they don't do any damage. So important. And then encouraging your child to blow their nose as soon as they physically can, and model that behavior too. After exercise is a really good way to do it, because you cannot breathe through a nose that's full of snot. So clearing it is essential. As quickly as you can do that from a young age is really, really vital, because the more they breathe through the nose, the easier it is to breathe through the nose. The more they breathe through the mouth, the easier it is, and the nose gets left behind. Please give it a go. It is well worth the battle. And if you find, a lot of our children love the mirror, they love the stage, and they love to mimic. So make sure that you don't have your mouth hanging open. And also lots of really fun games. And one of the things I found was really good with my daughter was, rather than say, close your mouth, close your mouth, close your mouth, you're always going for the negative. I encouraged I can't even remember what we called it, princess face, or it's what, soldier face. So make it fun, make it super, super fun, and they will mimic you. Or, find an animal, not a dog, definitely not a dog. Find fun ways that they can mimic you for the face. And you'll find it's a lot easier than words. Following that visual, copying your face, playing facey games in the mirror, kissy games, anything you're doing where your mouth is being used, you have to then breathe through your nose. And so I would strongly encourage you to give it a go. The rewards are great. I hope that's been helpful. Thank you.